Hello friends. So in the last lecture that we have seen some sort of that basic introduction part related to the manufacturing of the composite materials. So the different techniques that we have discussed related to the manufacturing, what kind of that methods we are going to use for the manufacturing of the composite material. Now in the last lecture that we have seen something about the back molding process thoroughly, how that particular composite material is prepared by using the bag molding process. Now, in the today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the different processes like the compression molding, then how we can be able to go for the hand layup method, and how we can be able to manufacture the composite material through the pultrusion process. So in the last lecture, whatever may be the contents that we have discussed, that is related to the bag molding. Now this is actually the diagram, means sketch layout for the bag molding process. So this particular schematic will be give you the idea about the bag molding process, and we have seen the detailed video of bag molding process, how that bag molding process is used to manufacture the composite materials. So now in the today's lecture that we are going to see that compression molding process, how we can be able to use the compression molding process for the manufacturing of the composite material. So we can be able to provide the different kind of that shapes to the composite laminates so that that particular composite laminates can be used for the application purpose. Now this particular schematic diagram will be gives you little bit of idea about how the setup for this particular compression molding is, and we will discuss this particular setup, and then we will go and see the video of this particular process, how this compression molding will be used for the manufacturing of the different composite laminates for different applications. Now in this particular schematic here you can be able to see the different patterns for this. So here is the movable pattern, and here that particular portion will be have the mold of this shape of the composite, and at the bottom we have to provide the half portion of this mold and which is fixed. So this particular portion is the movable, this particular portion of the mold is movable molding portion, and this is the fixed molding portion. So in between this we have to put some sort of that our composite laminate sheet, and some sharp edges are provided just to have the proper application of the forces. So here this particular all the part will be have the supporting ejector pins, and this particular portion will be have our composite laminate. So we have to mount our composite laminate sheet over here, and then we have to apply this particular load over here. So this particular mold will be have the all kind of that load on this fixed mold portion, and so that we can be able to provide the required shape of the sheet. So here we can be able to see the video of this compression molding process so that you will get a proper idea for this. Now this is actually the how these composite laminate sheets were converted into the applications. So this is the required shape is provided by using the compression molding process. This is the carbon sheet. Many times you have seen this before now. Now on this particular carbon sheet, whatever may be this either the glass fiber or some sort of that remaining directional fibers of composite maybe gets applied. Then here just to for the rework purpose, if suppose some threads are missing or something is there, so for that particularly that rework process is done with some sort of that agings. Now this particular laminate is ready. Now this particular laminate is kept in this mold. Now here you can be able to observe this is the portion of mold. Okay, this is the movable mold, and here that then we are going to apply this particular molding portion, okay, molding shape with this certain load, and then we will get some sort of that application point of view what molding shape we are required. Okay, now here the bottom portion is the movable mold. Okay, in the diagram what we have seen, in the diagram it is just a schematic. So in the diagram we have seen that upper portion as an fixed upper portion as an movable and lower portion as an fixed. But in this particular video you can be able to see the lower portion is movable and upper portion is fixed. So there is no any matter which portion is moving or which portion is fixed, because only the thing is that we have to keep one portion moving and one part of that particular mold is fixed. Okay, so here in this particular machine that we can be able to see that the upper portion of this mold is fixed and lower portion of this particular mold is movable. Now with a certain sort of that application, so after 5 minutes this will we have the required curing period of 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes we can be able to see that now our particular mold is ready. Okay, now only the thing is that we need to be remove some sort of that its edges, and we need to be clean the edges, so that finally you can be able to see that these kind of that shapes you can be able to achieve with this compression molding process. So initially that sheet was very much flat. Now after application of the load and after the curing period of 5 minutes we can be able to view this kind of that shapes. So these kind of that shapes might be required for many more kind of that application like your vehicle bumpers and all. Okay, so this is all about the particular compression molding process, how the compression molding process is taking place. Now after the compression molding process, now the next process we are going to see about the hand layup process. So here in this particular schematic you can be able to see that this is the hand layup method. So in the schematic here you can be able to see some sort of that resin mug where we are going to pour the resin on this particular mold. So any mold you can be able to take over here, or you can be able to go with this flat kind of that sheets also. So we are using some sort of that roller to apply this particular resin on this composite laminate. So here you can be able to see the portion of the composite laminate. So in this particular portion some sort of that releasing gel or some sort of that reinforcement we have to keep over here. Releasing gel you can be able to use some sort of that wax portion also. So that particular wax, it is we are many times we are using as an application when we don't want to stick our particular laminate. It should be get stuck with this particular mold portion. So we have to pour this particular resin on this particular reinforcement, and then we need to be apply this particular resin thoroughly on this laminated sheet, and in the latter part we have to apply some sort of that load, means compressive loading, just to have that particular resin that has to be gets penetrated easily inside all kind of that void spaces in this fiber reinforcement sheet. Okay, so here we will just see how this particular hand layup method, through the hand layup method the laminates are going to be manufactured. So normally that particular hand layup method is mostly used over here to manufacture the composite, because it is quite easier process and it is not required any kind of that cost. So here this will be a epoxy resin. This is the hardener we are using just to make it proper hard. Then this is the wax polish, that what gel we have used for this. Now this is the roller portion. We are using the roller and brush just to apply that particular resin thoroughly on that composite laminate. Now this is the MS plate, that what mold we are going to use. On this MS plate we are going to apply. This is the PVC sheet. These are the natural fibers. Now in the up till this particular portion we have seen about the carbon fiber or glass fiber, means some artificial fibers. This is actually the natural fiber, that is the bamboo fibers mat. So this natural fiber now we are going to use to manufacture the composite laminate. Now how to prepare this particular sample, or that is very much important. Now first of all we have to take the epoxy resin, and that particular in the epoxy resin we have to add the particular filler material, that is titanium oxide or any material, filler material, you can be able to go with that. So why that filler material is used? This is actually the filler material because some sort of that gaps maybe gets created, and those void gaps in this basic fibers, so those gaps will be gets filled with this fillers easily, so that that strength will not be going to be hampered much. So here we are mixing the titanium oxide with this epoxy resin to prepare our resin. Here we have taken the epoxy resin and we are now adding the filler. Now on this particular MS plate, here you can be able to see that on this particular MS plate, this PVC sheet is fixed on this MS plate so that our sample is not going to stuck thoroughly with this MS plate. So MS plate we are just using. Why the MS plate? Because MS plate is quite flat in nature, so that there is no any kind of that obligations in the surfaces, and this particular wax thoroughly it is applied on this MS plate. So wax is used like as a gel, so that at the latter part we can be able to easily remove our composite laminate without hampering its fiber structure. So wax is gets thoroughly applied on this MS sheet. Now we are just thoroughly applying as a first layer of epoxy and that particular filler material on this MS sheet. Now here we are just applying this particular epoxy resin thoroughly. Now we have added some sort of that layers of this particular our composite fibers on this epoxy, and after doing this again we are just pouring this particular resin on these fibers. So this particular resin is thoroughly applied on this fibers. So now we are adding the layer by layer portion of this fibers so that we can be able to prepare the laminate structure. So this is the one lamina of bamboo fiber. So we are now adding all those laminas together so that we can be able to form our laminate. So here some sort of that roller or brushes are used to apply this resin thoroughly. Now here you can be able to only make sure that your all the resin that has been get dispersed properly on this fibers. So that brush as well as a roller you have to use for this, so that all that particular resin will be properly poured into these fibers. So that particular filler material will be goes into this some sort of that void spaces which is already there in the fibers, so that it will be provide a proper strength to the fiber. Now this is we have prepared the particular laminate structure of the bamboo fibers. Now the next part is we have to settle this for a certain time, and then we have to apply the compression loading on this, just to make sure that all that particular resin what we have applied that will be properly dispersed into this fibers, so that a small amount of compressive load it is applied onto this sheet, so that what epoxy resin we have applied, that will be thoroughly dispersed into the fibers. And after 1.5 hours or after 1 hour, you can be able to remove your particular that laminate. Okay, so here you can be able to see this while applying. So this, your at the bottom portion your laminate is gets ready. Okay, so this is all about the hand layup method. I hope that you have just understood how that particular hand layup method is used to prepare the composite laminates. Now the next part, that is the pultrusion process. So here you can be able to see the schematic of this particular pultrusion process, how we can be able to use this particular pultrusion process for the manufacturing of the composite. Now here, this particular schematic will be gives you a little bit idea how this particular things are used to manufacture the composite laminates. So here we are using some sort of that rowing krills, so that whatever maybe this fibers will be there, so that fibers will be comes together, and then through this guide it is passing through this resin bath. So all that particular resin will be gets applied to your fiber thoroughly, and then this whatever maybe this performance and this surfacing wheels are there, so that will be just pull that particular fibers towards this particular portion, and through this die what particular shape you are required, you have to put this particular shape or manufacture this particular shape through this die, and then in the further portion whatever may be this your composite laminate structure, that will be gets separate out by using some sort of that cut saws. Okay, so these are the some pull blocks we have to use meanwhile, so that it will be provide little bit of guidance, as well as it will be help to pull this particular laminate your sheets. Now how this particular pultrusion process that has been demonstrated, so this is not actually the real video, it is just a demonstration of this pultrusion process, but it will be gives you a proper idea how this pultrusion process is used. Now here you can be able to see that these are the krills. So through this particular krills, here we are just sending out the all the fibers. So these particular fibers are passing through this particular resin bath, and in this fiber plate, so your required laminates it will be gets formed. So okay, so these are the supporting what dies we have seen. Okay, so this is in this particular portion you can be able to see that these are the woven krills are there, and through that fibers are passing through this. So here we are providing the resin bath. So this particular portion, so this is very much important part. Be ensure that your all the resin, so this particular portion will be have the enrichment of the resin, so that particular your resin will be applied thoroughly to this particular fibers. So this is actually the fiber line is passing through this, and we are providing or applying the resin through this resin bath. Why it is called as a bath? Because we are just applying this particular resin with enrichment contents. Now this particular plate will be goes forwarded. So with the help of this some sort of that pulling guiders, or we are applying some sort of a little bit of power just to pull this particular sheet for the now cutting process. So we are using some sort of that cut saws just to cut that particular laminate sheet. Now here you can be able to see that your laminate sheet will be gets separated. So into the required shape as well as into the required size, we have to provide the guider to that, and this will be a cut saw. With the help of this cut saw, we can be able to cut this particular portion of the laminate. So this is just a animation for this pultrusion process. So I hope that all these particular 4 methods, that is the bag molding process, then compression molding process, then the hand layup methods, and the pultrusion process, This particular methods are thoroughly you can be able to learn through this particular video. And in the next video again we will discuss some sort of that remaining parts of the manufacturing, like filament winding process and all. So for the today's lecture here we will stop. Thank you very much for your patience listening.